And this is where the real journey begins. Next stop, the Mossman Water Treatment Plant. The water treatment plant is where all water extracted at Rex Creek intake is treated. And here is the same mains pipe we followed from the intake going into the treatment plant. Like all water service providers around Australia, we follow very strict national standards to ensure that our drinking water is clean and treated to the highest standards to protect public health. It's a process with many steps along the way, including filtering, testing and treating. Let's show you what we do. Turbidity levels are checked at the intake, in the trunk main and then at the treatment plant. Turbidity, cloudy water, is caused by silt, clay and other organic and inorganic matter being churned up in the creek, creating higher levels of fine particles in the water. High turbidity can cause damage to filters and wear them out quicker, which can be costly. If there is high turbidity in the water, it is passed through a hydrocyclone which spins the water very fast to throw out the fine particulate from the water to remove it from the supply being processed. Where turbidity is low, the first stage is for the water to pass through the pre-filters which remove the larger particles in the water. After pre-filtration, water passes through one of the many ultrafiltration membranes, or UF cartridges, to filter out any smaller particulate and organics that have made it through the previous stages. All 3 water treatment plants use UF cartridges to filter the water to remove any particulate and bacteria or microorganisms that remain in the water at this stage.
It's an ultrafiltration cartridge that filters our raw water that comes into the plant through little hollow, basically straws. The hollow straws that are in the cartridges, they filter out any pathogens, E. coli, remaining turbidity that may have got past the pre-filters.
Before being sent to customers and to comply with drinking water legislation, the water must contain a small quantity of chlorine to ensure no harmful bacteria or microorganisms are present through the long journey to customers' taps. To achieve this, the 2 clear water reservoirs that supply the Mossman and Port Douglas localities are dosed with chlorine. Now the drinking water is ready for the next stage of its journey. Located inside the treatment plant, the control room is manned by the water quality team who manage the various automated control points for all 3 water treatment plants. This includes control areas from the intakes all the way to the treated water reservoirs located throughout the network. Water quality and reservoir levels are constantly checked to ensure that supply can meet demand, and any alerts at display are acted upon immediately to mitigate any impacts on supply.
So today we're looking at extraction rates from the intake. We have licence limits, which is a legal requirement, which means we can't take out more than our licence allows us. So we monitor that 24/7. Since we've been making advances in our infrastructure, we've introduced a backwash recovery plant. In the past, with backwashes, we used to send it all to sewage. With the backwash water now, we're able to recycle, retreat and reuse, which puts less pressure on our extraction limits at our intakes.
As well as the system checks and testing that occur at the treatment plants, there are regular tests done by Council's Environmental Technical Officer. Samples are taken from designated sites throughout the water network to check pH levels, chlorine, and any other parameters required to be tested. Some tests are done at the site, and other samples are taken back to the lab for in-house testing at the Douglas lab, or are sent to a NATA-accredited laboratory for verification testing.